Dear students, last time we have discussed about the aspect of audit working paper. In that we have seen meaning of audit working paper, contents of audit working paper, possession of audit working paper, ownership of audit working paper, and importance of audit working paper. Today we are going to discuss here the next aspect, internal control and internal check. In regard to this, we are required to see the meaning of these the basic elements of internal control, objectives of internal control, advantages of internal control, and the features and advantages and limitations of internal check. This aspect is going to be discussed here. When we consider the internal control, then it refers to the various methods and procedures adopted for the control of production, distribution, and the whole system, financial and non-financial, of the organization. It means those procedures which are adopted, these are control in the internal control system. This may be financial as well as non-financial. In other words, internal control system means the whole system of controls, financial or otherwise, established by the management in order to carry on the business of the organization in an orderly and efficient manner. It ensures the adherence to management policies, safeguard the assets, and secure as far as possible the completeness and accuracy of the record. The internal control is a means by which organization resources are directed, monitored, and measured. It plays an important role in preventing and detecting frauds and protect the organization's resources, both physical and intangible. Means with this intention, the system is applied or adopted by the management with an intention to detect the frauds and protect the organization resources, both physical and intangible, is called internal control. The concept of internal control is defined by W. Big as internal control is best regarded as the whole system of controls, financial or otherwise, established by the management in the conduct of business, including internal check, internal audit, and other form of control. Means internal control, internal check, and internal audit are a part of internal control. On the basis of this definition, it may be stated that a system of internal control provides a measure for management to obtain information, protection, and control which are quite important for the successful working of business organization. It means successful operations of the business organizations are ultimately depends upon the internal control system followed by the business organization. So for applying internal control system, it is necessary to see that what are the basic elements of internal control system. An effective system of internal control should have the following basic elements. First is that of financial and other organizational plans. When any of the organization want to establish control, that time there are necessity of some specific plan of the with the organization, and that plan is a financial plan as well as a organization plan is required, and on the basis of that it is possible to establish the control on the work which is performed in the organization. Second is competent personnel. For the success of organization ultimately depends on the people who are working in the organization, and thereby necessity of internal control is that the person who are working in the organization, this person should be competent in their work. Next is division of work. For establishing control over the employees, there are proper division of work should be there, and division of work if properly made, then it is possible to do the work by the people in the organization and control is established. Fourth is separation operational responsibility from record keeping. It is necessary that No one person should have to work till the end, and thereby there are necessity of separation of operational responsibility from the record keeping. Next is authorization. There are necessity of authorization in the organization. If authorization is proper, then it is possible to establish the control. And last is managerial supervision and review. The internal control is the next succeeded if there have proper procedure is if followed in the organization. After discussing these basic elements of internal control, the next aspect is objectives of internal control. Internal control is of fundamental importance to the auditor because before he can plan the test he intend to carry out in his audit program, he must decide to the extent to which he intend to rely on the system of internal control. Auditor is required to consider that the following objectives of internal control are achieved by the organization. First is proper authorization. Proper authorization is necessary in the organization if authorities are proper and within their capacity. If they work, then the work is accurate and correct. So proper authorization is seen by the auditor for attainment of the effectiveness of internal control. Prompt recording of transaction. Prompt recording of transaction is also the objective of internal control, and if transactions are promptly recorded, then the control is properly established in the organization. Third is restricted access to assets. There are necessity of restrictive restrictive access to the assets of the organization. Then ultimately there are no possibility of any malpractice in regard to the assets of the organization. And fourth is action against deviation. If the deviations is there, then there are necessity of to take necessary action for overcoming the deviations which are happen in the organization. These are the objectives of internal control. If internal control is effective, then it delivers various advantages. First advantage is that identification of defects. If internal control system is properly in the organization, those defects are in the work, that defects are immediately identified, and if these defects are immediately identified, then it is ultimately benefited to the organization. Second is flexibility. In respect of this, the internal control system is there. The flexibility is also the advantage. It means in this system, year-wise comparative analysis is done, and so if there is any change in the mode of operations, the changes in the system could easily be accommodated. So the opportunity for flexibility is available on the basis of internal control system. Third advantage is saving in time. If the internal control system in operation is in an organization, there is no need for preparation of separate audit program for each and every audit engagement, and thus it saves the time to great extent in the organization. Fourth is lesser risk of omission. Under the system, the total work is subdivided into a number of activities and each employee is assigned each type of activity. So there is least chance of oversight or omission of any issue. And last is provision for training facility. Due to lack of adequate experience, the auditor may face difficulty in establishing a close relationship between audit program and the internal control system. The system itself provides training facility to auditors to overcome this difficulty, though there are certain disadvantages. The first disadvantage is that chance of human error. The possibility of human error due to carelessness, mistakes, or judgments on the misunderstanding of instructions may make the system ineffective. Second is costly affair. The management is usually requirement is that a control procedure should be cost effective, but in many cases, the cost of internal control procedure is not proportionate to the potential loss due to fraud and error. Third disadvantage is the ignorance of unusual activities. Ignorance of unusual activity means it is the fact that most of the internal control techniques are directed toward anticipated types of transactions and not on unusual transactions. Fourth is collusion. This may be possibility of circumvention of controls through collusion with the parties outside the organization or with employees of the organization. Fourth, next is absence of responsibility. It may happen that a person responsible for exercising control abuses that responsibilities and thereby it is disadvantageous. And last is rigidity. There is a possibility that the system may become inadequate due to changes in the conditions and compliance with procedures may deteriorate and thereby rigidity is a disadvantage of this system. By this way, these are the advantages and disadvantages of a internal check system, internal control system. The next is internal check. The internal check can be defined by various authorities as follows. The first definition is given by Spicer and Pegler. A system of internal check is an arrangement of staff duties whereby no one person is allowed to carry through and to record every aspect of transaction so that without collusion between two or more persons, fraud is activated and at the same time the possibilities of errors are reduced to the minimum. It means internal check. Second definition is given by Institute of Chartered Accountants of England and Wales. According to this association, a check on day-to-day transaction of the enterprise carried out continuously as a part of routine system where the work of one person is proved independently or in complementary to the work of another, the object being the prevention or early detection of errors or frauds. It means internal check. Next one definition is given by L.R. Dixie. Internal check system is such an arrangement of bookkeeping routine that errors and frauds are likely to be prevented or discovered by the very operation of the bookkeeping itself. Next is Professor Arnold W. Johnson. Internal check system is one wherein the accounting work of an work the employee is completed and verified by the work of another employee, both employees working independently and without duplication of other's work. And one more is FRMD Paula. Internal check as a internal check means practically a continuous internal audit carried on by the staff itself by means of which the work of each individual is independently checked by other member of the staff. On the basis of this above definition, it may be concluded that internal check is a system where the work is divided among the employees in such a manner that not a single individual is allowed to carry on the whole function from the beginning to the end, and the work of an individual is being automatically checked by another person. It means internal check. The objectives of internal check systems are: first is assigning responsibility. To assign the responsibility to various persons is the first objective of internal check, and with this intention, the internal check system is followed in the organization whereby one person's work is checked by another person. Second objective is that minimizing errors or fraud. Minimizing errors or fraud is another objective of a internal check system. To minimize the possibility of any error or fraud done by any staff member is minimize it is the objective of internal check. Third is detecting errors or frauds. To detect the errors or fraud easily due to independent checking of work done by one employee by the another employee is the objective of internal check. Fourth is reducing clerical mistakes. To minimize the possibility of omission of any transaction from being recorded in the books of account is also the objective of internal check system. Enhancing work efficiency. To enhance the efficiency of the staff, that is management of duties is based on the principle of division of labor, and accordingly when the work is assigned, the efficiency is enhanced by this way. Next is obtaining confirmation. To obtain confirmation of facts and entries physically and financially by the presentation and necessary maintenance of records is also objective of internal check. Then reducing the burden of work. To reduce the burden of work of independent auditor by introducing the internal check system in scientific way is also objective. Exercising moral pressure. To exercise moral pressure on the employee by introducing continuous review process of the total system is also the objective of internal check. And lastly is obtaining ensuring reliability. To facilitate business control by ensuring the reliability of accounting record and books is also objective of internal check. Then it is necessary to see the advantages of internal check. Advantages are classified as advantages from business point of view, advantages from the viewpoint of owner, and advantages from the viewpoint of auditor. By this way, the advantages are considered. From the business point of view, when advantages are considered, then following are the advantages from the business point of view. First is proper allocation of work. The rational allocation of work among the different staff members of the organization bring precision, and thereby it is advantageous to the organization. Second is control device. The distribution of work under this system is such that it acts as a control device against the unscrupulous employees. The chances of fraudulent manipulation are thus minimized due to the existence of this check. Third is speedy work. As the individual staff member is engaged in the same type of job for a considerable period of time, its result is that efficient performance of the activities and high speed of work is possible. Ultimately, it is benefited. Increase in efficiency and skills. A good system of internal check increases the efficiency of working among the staff as due to its proper planning for assigning right job to the right person. Next is easy preparation of final accounts. Since no individual worker is allowed to handle a job completely and the work is divided among the employees in a proper manner, the books of accounts can be kept up to date. As a result, the final accounts can be prepared easily and ultimately it is advantageous. And last is the creation of moral check. Creation of moral check, knowledge of subsequent checking of each employee works by other acts as a great check to commission of errors and frauds. These are the advantages from the business point of view. From the viewpoint of the owner, the first advantage is that reliability on accounts. If there is good system of internal check, the owner of the organization may rely on the genuineness and accuracy of the accounts, and ultimately they are benefited. Orientation of accounting. As the responsibility of each staff is clearly defined and fixed, it develops a system of accounting which is known as responsibility accounting, and thereby it is advantageous to the owner. Third is economical operation. Although it seems that the introduction of well integrated system of internal check is costly, but in actual practice, it is observed that the staff patterns are so arranged that the existing staff is be properly filled in different operating areas involving no extra cost, and ultimately the operation become economical. These are the advantages from the viewpoint of the owner. From the viewpoint of auditor, it facilitation of audit work and attention to other important matters. These are advantages to the auditor, though there are certain disadvantages. First disadvantage is monotony. The work is monotonous, and because of monotonous work, the person who are engaged in that particular job, he cannot properly work. Is a monotony is a disadvantage. Second is carelessness. The possibility of some of the responsible and high official being complacent increases as they believe, though not always right, that under a sound system of internal check, nothing can go wrong, and thereby carelessness is a disadvantage. Third is collusion. The real purpose of the internal check is bound to fail in if collusion among the staff exists in disguise. Fourth is limited application. The application of this system is limited only in big organization. Its application in small organization may result in loss of time and unnecessary expenditure. Dependence is also the disadvantage. Statutory auditor is almost all the cases rely on the internal check system. Accordingly, they apply test check and therefore do not apply throw check, and thereby dependence is increased, and such dependence is disadvantageous on the part of auditor as well as on the part of every concerns with the organizations. And last is possibility of disorder. In the absence of properly organized system of internal check, there will be chaos and disorder in the working of the business. So it is disadvantageous. By this way, these are the various disadvantages of internal check system. Thank you.